Welcome to The Wing, the emotional and financial health check you never knew you needed. We provide tangible solutions for young women to build emotional health and wealth on their journey from school to motherhood. This is the podcast for young women in Australia navigating the big stuff: life, money, and motherhood. From high school to first homes, babies to bank accounts, we take you on an interactive listening journey that helps you make smart, empowered decisions every step of the way.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to my official first episode of The Wing. Now, this will also be an introductory episode because I'm new to this and I'm still learning what I'm doing. Now, I want to frame a few things. So, on this podcast, we're planning to have some very honest conversation. We are going to be talking about OCD, motherhood, property transactions, mistakes and wins, an overview on what the pod will be about, which if you listen to my other introduction, hopefully that covers it. Now, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I say and do some controversial things, especially when it comes to babies, in a good way, but I've got an arsenal of connections that I want to expose to my listeners so that you can avoid the mistakes that I've made and seek the right help in the most challenging moments. Now, hopefully that kind of frames it. Now, when I say I do controversial things, especially when it comes to babies, that sounds terrible. But what I'm referring to is I'm going to touch on some sleep training methodologies. I'm going to talk about mostly sleep training, actually, because it's the one thing that I believe has the reason that we're still married. So I think that's an important topic. But I'm just going to be sharing. So hopefully you can listen with an open mind and hopefully take in some information that I've learned and lean on some resources that I've got access to that I highly recommend. All right, so I'm going to go back to the start a little bit and talk about my journey so far. Now, I'll probably skip over a few things, but by design, but it'll set us up for our next conversations and what we're actually going to cover off on. And I'm keen to get some listener feedback on anything that you hear me say or talk about that you would like to get some more insight on. Please contact me, probably via Instagram is probably the best method at this point in time, so that I can create some more topics and I guess hone in on what information you're really looking for, whether it's an example of something that I've done or haven't done very well, or a topic that is sort of burning away in the back of your mind that you think that would be of value to speak about more broadly and bring in front of a broader audience as well. I'm happy to do that. So, university, let's start there. Now, I got into university on a principal's recommendation scheme. Now, I'm not sure if you know what that is. Only people that get in on that scheme probably know what that scheme is. I got in on that scheme. It basically means that I was a really good student, but I just wasn't quite smart enough. And I didn't get the exact uni scores to get in at a minimum level. So thankfully, I wasn't applying to become a medical professional or something of that nature. I simply went in with a expectation that I would get a degree and have that in my back pocket for future job opportunities. So I got into uni on the scheme. I studied a Bachelor of Public Relations and I did complete the degree. However, maths was not my strong suit and I actually added up the units incorrectly and thought I was going to finish on time, but I had to go back and do another semester because I hadn't done enough units. So that shows you probably was written on the walls from the very beginning that maybe I wasn't the best candidate to go to university. Anyhow, I went and I got a lovely document out of it and a beautiful juicy HECS debt, which I didn't pay off until I was 30. That's a topic. We'll get to that. Paid off my HECS debt. Our HECS debt became Jake's HECS debt. Paid off my HECS debt when I was 30 as part of one of our tax strategies. So yes, we're not just talking about life. We're going to be talking about the financial side of things as well, because I feel like there's a lot to learn. Now, in that meantime, I was in 2 long-term relationships. One went for 3 years from when I was 17. The next one went for about 5.5 years. one of those years I was engaged. Kind of, I guess, in tandem, overlapping with that time period, I purchased a townhouse off the plan at 24 years old with my brother. It took about, I think it was 12 to 18 month build. We bought that because we wanted to get our foot in the property market. And we just thought, however we can do that, we will do that. So my parents went guarantor for us, which was the only way that we were able to get that loan at that point in time. And we were planning at the time that we purchased it to just have it rented out. Things in life happened, breakups and, other factors, breakups, the start of a business, things that don't usually help you financially. All of those things happened at the same time. So our grand plan of renting out that townhouse didn't go ahead. And my brother and I ended up moving into it. We were both at a time in our lives where we needed to not live at home and not be spending a fortune on rent somewhere. So we thought, look, we've got this house that we own that happens to be finished right at this amazing time. Thank you, universe. Let's move in. So that was a terrible idea. My brother and I mean, if you can divorce your sibling, that probably would have happened for us, but thankfully it didn't. But yeah, I don't know that it may be in some unique cases, but for us, it wasn't natural for two grown adults in their mid-20s to be living together as brother and sister. So after zero profit and a whole lot of heartache, we sold that townhouse 2 years from when we purchased it off the plan. We ended up living together for about 6 months, and that was a very long 6 months. It felt like 6 years. And that's just not me. You're very welcome to ask my brother how it went, and I'm reasonably sure he will tell you the exact same story. So anyway, Dad sold that actually. Dad's a real estate agent. For those of you that know me and my family, you will know that. So he sold it for us. He did not charge us. We paid obviously the agency fees that we needed to, but he sold it for the exact price. Like if we factored in all of the costs and everything, it was to the dollar. So no profit, nothing. Because we had paid down a little bit of our debt during that time that we owned the property and lived there, and we were both contributing to the mortgage, there was a little bit of a cashback. Like we got, I think I got $10,000 in my bank account, which I swiftly invested straight into a tech startup, which I still haven't seen any return on. So hopefully I'm painting a picture for you that, I made all these big grand decisions and having these fantastic plans, and so sometimes they just really just don't work out. Anyway, that was that. Just to sort of go on top of all of the above. So I had a huge breakup, an awful relationship breakdown and breakup, which is very, very sad at, to about 25, 24, 25. So this is all again happening in tandem with the townhouse. Big meltdowns. Started a business because I was still in the relationship at the time I started the business. I had a very secure job. It was my big first marketing job, and I was working as a marketing manager of a shopping centre. And I was 22 when I got that job. I don't know why I was given that responsibility, and needless to say, yes, I did go over the marketing budget a couple of times. That was very stressful. But I had a wonderful team and a wonderful centre manager and all of the above, so that was great. Anyway, I left that job because I had a family friend who had an investment in a startup company, and I thought, startup, yes, oh wow, this is my big break. I'm going to work for a startup. So I worked for that startup for 6 months, and that fell to pieces as well. Oh gosh, this is a book. No, it's a podcast actually. That fell to pieces. I remember we went to the lawyer's office, and the owners of the startup had a huge blow up in the lawyer's office, and we got in the car after that and we're on one of the main streets in the city and said, "Righto, Katey, I think you don't really have a job here anymore." I thought, yeah, I kind of got that from that meeting. More meltdowns. I was made redundant. So, anyone who's been made redundant knows how that feels. I was only in the role for 6 months. So, and I felt pretty terrible about that. So, redundancies happen when people have been in companies for 20 or more years. So, the gravity of what I felt at the time, I can just only imagine what, other people experience, like going through a similar thing. So anyway, I decided to become Katey 180, and I started up my own marketing business. It was very small to begin with. I only had a couple of clients, and I was charging not very much for, not very much probably, My skill set was a little limited. I worked on, for the next 8 years, building a team around me, combination of employees and contractors. Started off with contractors because I didn't want to have employees at any point in time. I thought that was too much, that was too scary, so I didn't do that. Anyway, had the business, and that's what kind of ticked me along. I did end up working for my dad in the real estate company that he works for at the time, and was his personal assistant. So I was doing a bit of both there. Did some side jobs, worked at a vitamin store for a while with a friend of mine, just to sort of keep things ticking along. Anyway, then the breakup happened. That was just the icing on the cake of all of it. So I moved out from where we were living and got my own rental and was renting there by myself in a 1-bedroom apartment in maybe not the brightest place, but I'm not sure if that was just a reflection on my mood or, the place itself. And I made my way through single life at, sort of in my mid to late 20s. Yeah, sort of 26, 27, I would have been thereabouts. Trying to find my way and trying to build this business and, trying to redefine myself and what my life looked like. Had I asked my 18-year-old self, I would have said, oh, at 27, no, you'll be married with 3 kids. What are you talking about, Katey? No, all of those things happened instead. And I was just doing the next thing. Just the only bit of advice to give myself at the time. Just do the next thing. Many things happen in between there, but those are sort of the main points. Now, I then met Jake, who is my now husband and father of my 2 soon-to-be 3 children. And after about 18 months of chasing him around, my persistence finally beat his resistance, and he invited me over for burritos. And before that, asked me if I wanted to be picked up from the bus stop when I was returning from a trip from Byron Bay. And I thought, wow, I finally made it. We've been together ever since. That was honestly the biggest turning point, and things just seemed to get better and better and better after that. I feel like I had to go down quite a way down in order to come back up again. So we got engaged after being together for 18 months. Oh, I moved I moved in to Jake's house 2 months after dating, but I had known him for about 18 months before that, so I feel like he wasn't a total stranger. Well, yeah, so we got engaged after 18 months, married 12 months after that, and in the meantime, we went through all of the things that you go through as living together as a new couple. So I came into Jake's house and he lived in a little bit of a bachelor pad. He owned the house, so he had free reign to sort of dress it up and style it however he really wanted to, but that wasn't overly apparent. So, I got in there. One housemate, no, he's got to go. He did. He left. The other one, I quite like that one. He stayed with us for pretty much the whole 4 years that we lived there, so that was nice. But as I said, bachelor pad. So we're talking about, like a nice red rug with a grey couch and a PlayStation box with the dining table tucked up in the corner, with the chairs actually stacked on top of the dining table. Like, when restaurants are cleaning at the end of the night, they put the chairs on the top of the tables, like so that the cleaner can get under. Yeah, so that was the permanent arrangement of the dining table setting. Dust. It was one day I was actually walking down the hallway and I thought someone had spilled rice on the floor. Well, it's had like timber floors. I thought, what's all this rice? Why is there basmati rice everywhere on the floor? Anyway, I looked a little closer. It was maggots from the kitchen bin, because in the kitchen, the kitchen window, the sun would belt in the afternoon and just blast directly onto the kitchen bin. That bin's gone. That bin was gone, that day, in that moment. So we sorted that out. We had some ventilation issues in the bathroom. It was 60s build, so it was an older house. At the bathroom there was sighted a couple of little mushrooms in the corner of the shower, so that happened. I got myself some very good exit mold gloves, whatnot, sort of gas that room out once a week. What else? We had the kitchen. Kitchen was a kitchen room. So in the, older houses, they've got like a kitchen room. It's a very private sort of setting to be preparing your dinner in. There's not a lot of light, not a lot of storage, but you make it work. So I spent a lot of time in the kitchen room. Then I'd start to do things like I'd start to rearrange things, or I'd sort of ask Jake, oh, do you think it'd be a nice idea if we maybe pop some candles on the TV unit, just to, jazz it up a little bit? Oh, yeah, no, that'd be nice. Yeah, go ahead, you do that, Katey. cool. So I did that. So candles started to appear everywhere. We had candles in the entryway, in the lounge room, the bedroom, bathrooms, candles. And then I got a bit bored. I thought, right, I've got to make some more changes here. What have we got? All right, we might start doing a bit of a cleaner. Jake, do you think it'd be a good idea how about I clean out your kitchen for you? I bet you haven't cleaned your kitchen cupboards for a while. So how about I just go through all the pantry items and just check the dates on everything. And I'll just go through all the cupboards and yeah, that'd be good actually. Yep, let's do that. And then we can do a proper shop. And yes, good. Got his buy-in. Great. Off I go. Trolley through the kitchen. I usually did this on Saturdays because Jake works on Saturdays, and I didn't. That was my faffing day. If anyone wants to know what faffing is, it's basically doing a whole lot of stuff that is a whole lot of nothing. So you faff around. So that became my second job. So I faffed the kitchen. I absolutely faffed the kitchen. So I cleaned out everything. I threw out most things. So I had a very clean slate to work, wiped out all the cupboards, did all that stuff. Anyway, very proudly showed Jake when he got home. Wow, okay, there was quite a bit of stuff in there that we didn't need. No, you didn't need any of it because I was planning to start fresh, you see. And I had a heap of stuff. I had a heap of kitchen. My mum is a kitchen whiz and she's just been giving me kitchen things for years. So my collection is pretty standout. So I was basically just making room for me. Anyway, so we did that. We tidied the kitchen. Anyway, then we started on I started on the living area. So I created a bit of a junk room. Everyone's got a junk room or a junk drawer or a junk cupboard or whatever. You just need one. Anyway, that was a spare room where one of his housemates had moved out of. So I started picking things out of the house and just reorganizing. It's a polite way to put it. Basically, I took all of the things I didn't like and I put them in that room just so they were all in the one place. So I just could compartmentalize it and go, right, I just know they're all together. So now I can just focus on the things I do like and, start to home make. Showed Jake the junk room and he was aware of that, obviously, because he couldn't use that room anymore. I said, I think I want to Jake, I reckon if we turn this into a spare room, then if anyone comes to visit us, they could just stay over. It'll just be easier. We can entertain more and do that. Yeah. Oh, yep. No, that's a good idea. Yeah, I think we've really got to get rid of some of this stuff. Great. All right. Got that buy-in again. Very important, ladies. It's team sport. You've got to get the buy-in. There's a few things you can do in the background silently, like the candles and the wiping of the cupboards, but ultimately the big stuff, you have to get the buy-in. So obviously at this point, I wasn't in a position to have welcomed Jake into my house because my townhouse, my brother was still living there. Him and I were not getting along at that time. And Jake very much wanted to be in his space. So, there was an option. There was an option for him to come and join me. But anyway, that's where we were. The junk room. I don't check the weather. It's something I don't do. I think, why check the weather? I will find out what the weather is tomorrow when I wake up and I walk outside and it's cold today. All right, I'll wear a jumper. Oh, the sun's out. Lovely. I'll pack the kids' hats. I don't like, and I also love surprises. So if I check the weather, I take the surprise out of the whole next day. So that's why I don't bother. I think, no, I just want to see what happens. Let's just see what happens. And as you can probably tell by seeing what happens, that isn't usually a good plan for success. There was a time when I checked the weather. Check the weather because, no, I actually didn't do this on purpose, but we joke now that I did do it on purpose. Apparently, Jake thinks I checked the weather. The only time I checked the weather was to see when it was raining so that I could empty the junk room and put it on the back deck. Everything would get wet and ruined and we'd have to throw it out anyway. So anyway, that's the joke now. But at the time, I did actually move everything out onto the deck. Mostly because I just wanted it out of the house and the deck was a closer space to the bins. And I thought, right, if I get it on the deck, then we can really go through it. Throw some things out and put them in the actual bins, or we'll get a skip or something, I don't know. Or we'll just chip away at our bins. Every bin night, the bins will be full, and the next week we'll fill it up with new stuff, and it'll just be a process that we work. Anyway, it rained. There was a vacuum cleaner out there. There was a coffee table. There was that red rug. Pretty sure that red rug was there. The PlayStation I kept because I'm not a total masochist. Yeah, we've got that still, so that was fine. But there was quite a lot of items that ended up on that deck on that fateful rainy day that I still to this day swear I had no idea about because, again, I don't check the weather, Jake. And that's it. That's basically how we tidied that up. Anyway, so then we've got room now. We've got space. Let's go to the shopping centre and let's go and pick out some furniture and decorate and buy some stuff online and really jazz it up. And I was happy to buy it all. I thought, Jake, you're the vessel. Your house, you in the house, you're the vessel. I'll decorate. You just leave it to me. You're not going to have to worry about a thing. So I did that. I decorated. And then I think we were kind of creeping into, must have been creeping close to COVID. It was creeping close to COVID, but it wasn't COVID yet, thankfully. I decided then, hey, why don't we get a dishwasher? I feel like, we entertain a lot. It'd be great. Why don't we'll just whack a dishwasher in? We're not going to be in this house forever, but if we just popped a dishwasher in, that'll be good. That'll just sort us out for the time being. We'll just pop it in that corner of it. Anyway, I think I had 2 people come out and give me quotes for this dishwasher. Anyway, this dishwasher ended up being the most expensive dishwasher in Australia because we didn't just put the dishwasher in. We actually ended up just doing a whole house renovation. So we knocked out the kitchen room, all those walls gone, new kitchen in, all new appliances, redid the floors. We renovated the bathroom so the mushroom shower was no longer with us. When they renovated the shower, actually, the bathroom, they had to dig it all out so much that the floor had actually started to rot away. So it was actually a blessing in disguise that we did this renovation on the house and it wasn't a big house. It was a pretty small house, about 180 square meters. It was a duplex, still had 4 bedrooms, but not a lot of storage. Again, it was a 60s build, so it was an older style home. Renovated that, did the toilet, the laundry. So all the wet areas and the majority of the house was all set up, all renovated. So that was lovely. So we've gone ahead and we've gone from how about we pop some candles around to let's do a full-blown renovation. Now, it didn't stop there because obviously, why would I stop there? In the meantime, don't forget, Jake had asked me to marry him. We were planning a wedding. Like, he was in. He was in. But the thing was, I think because I spaced it all out, it didn't raise too many alarm bells. So that, I don't know, perhaps that worked in my favor. Not sure. Upon reflection, and as I said, we joke about this now. He realizes everything I did. So, I mean, at least there's honesty in that part. Yes, at that point, then it was COVID. Yes, COVID kicked in. I remember us having the new kitchen while we were in COVID, and I thought, oh, it's not that bad. I can hang out at my newly renovated place for a while longer. So we did that, and then anyway, we got married. As soon as we got married, we were like, right, let's try for a baby. Let's do this. I think that'll be a really good idea. Let's go ahead. That's our next step. So we didn't fall pregnant straight away, which I know is a very common thing. So anyway, we were just sort of enjoying married life, and I was getting extremely frustrated along the process of just not falling pregnant. During this time, I sold a part of my business, a big part of the majority of my business. I think I only had like 1 client left that I was doing some other work with. Anyway, I sold a majority of that business and I went and worked for the company. They're a NASDAQ listed company, so listed on the American Stock Exchange. I went and worked, that's who bought me, and I went and worked for them for 3 months, and it was an interesting, no, I'm not going to lie because I'm not going to name them. It was the worst 3 months of my life. I was so stressed. I actually had blood tests at the doctor because obviously we weren't falling pregnant and like trying to figure out like what are the next steps, what are we going to do. One of my, what is it? It's a hormone that's in your pituitary gland. It's actually associated with breastfeeding. I'm not going to remember the name of it, but anyway, particular hormone was extremely high and it was a stress hormone. So I needed to make some lifestyle changes. So I ended up quitting that business. I no longer worked for them. I had 1 client, so I was still working with them on the side, but I ended up getting one of my friends, Jess Norton. You will meet Jess on the pod in future episodes. She's going to come on for a little chit chatty and she's just going to be a hoot. So you will meet her. Jess and I were, we were sort of firing up our friendship at the time. We'd known each other through mutual friends, and she's one of the most interesting people I've ever known. And continues to be. She lives in LA, like she's married, her husband he works in the music production industry. Like she's goals. So anyway, Jess and I are becoming friends. I'm thinking, this is great. Like, I love this girl. She was working at a company called Dashdot, and I will name them because I love them and I still work there. So they deserve a huge shout out, because only good things happened after I started working at Dashdot. So Jess worked there at the time. She was the head of marketing, and she got me in at least for an interview. And then I went through the process. It was quite a vigorous onboarding process, actually, and I can see why, because they're a very, very well-oiled company. So their processes had to be super tight in terms of recruitment and onboarding. So anyway, I was lucky enough to get my foot in the door with Dashdot, and I have been there ever since. It was almost like it was the universe. I believe everything is the universe. Everything is the universe. Things really started to fall into place. So I started working at Dashdot. It's full-time work from home. That's the arrangement. Everyone is work from anywhere. Founders are amazing. Goose and Gabby, we love them. The team is amazing. The team has just been growing and flourishing and everything. So they're a property investment company. I'll leave that loose because we're going to talk about it in more detail on future pods. It must have been within like a month or so of working at Dashdot, I fell pregnant. And I fell pregnant with our daughter. That was a huge, so many mixed emotions, obviously, that feeling for the mums out there that have been lucky enough to have a baby. That first little look on that positive pregnancy test is just an unbeatable feeling, nerve-wracking, because anything can happen. Just really, really amazing. And then also, oh shit, I've just got this new job that I absolutely love. Now I need to tell them that I'm pregnant. Great, 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 great. But also, so happy I'm pregnant. Amazing. Went through the motions, got to my 12-week scan, made sure everything was all okay. Everything was, thankfully, with her. Yep, so I let Dashdot know. They were fantastic about it. They're a very family-friendly workplace, so I must mention that. That's fully to their credit. So I ended up getting from Dashdot mat leave, which, it helped us financially significantly through that period of time. I worked at Dashdot right up until I had our daughter. I remember it was the 6th of April, 2023. That was my last day of work, and that was a big day. But a couple of steps before that, so it was the March. We were then obviously, Jake's house was, I'm pregnant, we got a baby coming, trying to sort of get some furniture together and organize the house and what that's going to look like and whatnot. And no, Jake, I'm pregnant, just hormones. This house is too, I can't live here. We cannot raise a baby here. We just can't. We just can't. We got to look for something else. So we've gone through all that renovation and everything. We're shopping for our dream home, or our short-term dream home. Like we want something bigger. We want something with a pool. We want something with a backyard. We want something that's somewhat private. We want lots of space, lots of storage. We want something that we can live in for the next 15 years and raise our kids in. So we went on that journey. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail on that journey, but I will talk to the importance of having a very savvy mortgage broker, a very professional solicitor. It definitely helped having a real estate agent as a husband, but I get final say on UC. So, that was a team effort. It was a team effort. So we commenced that journey, and obviously we went up and down all the highs and lows of looking for a new home, looking for a somewhat forever home, looking for it, finding one, loving it, missing out, or not having enough money, or whatever it was, or not being quite in the right spot, but having a heap of other features that we liked. Anyway, so we went on that journey. We were shopping pretty much, I'd say, the majority of my pregnancy. We found it. The auction was in March 2023. We had our birthing classes booked in that exact same weekend that the auction was on. The house, we walked in, yep, this is it. This is the one. We're just going to move heaven and earth to get this. Some advice my dad gave to me a long time ago was bite off more than you can chew and chew like buggery, is what he says. I like to say just bite off more than you can chew and chew hard, which is what I've actually been trying to do my whole life from when I left uni. That's all I was doing, but I wasn't chewing hard enough, obviously, and maybe I ended up spitting everything out. This was our chance. This was our opportunity. So we went to birthing class on the other side of town. We, got in the zones, meditations. Where do babies come from? No, I'm just kidding. If you've been to a birthing class, you know what they cover, and if you haven't, then I won't bore you with details. It was our lunch break. We said, we've got to go. We actually just have to go to an auction. We're hoping to buy a house. We'll be back after the lunch break. Oh, good luck. Oh, hope you get it. Everything. Yeah, great. All right. So we hoon over to the auction, bid at the auction. Long story short, we got it. We bought it. We bought it. It's the house we live in now. All of our dreams came true on that day. We crying, like hugging, just everything. Amazing. Went back to the birthing class, obviously, because we paid for it and we told them we'd be back and get there. Walked in the room. It's about 20 other couples. And the doula, the lady that was running it, she goes, "Did you get it?" And we said, "Yes, we did. We got it." Anyway, the whole room just cheered for us. We thought, "Oh my gosh, this is the best day ever." Anyway, straight into meditation. I thought, how am I going to meditate after we just bought our dream home? Like, it was probably good for me to calm down a little bit. So I went through the rest of birthing class on that day, and then we were back the next day. I actually ended up bursting into tears and crying at the end of the second day. I think I was just overwhelmed, and I was not set on breastfeeding, and there was a whole segment on breastfeeding, and I lost it. I actually went, and I think I had a little bit of a panic attack in the bathroom at the birthing class. It had been a big weekend, so I'll get into more detail on that side of things as well in future pods when we talk about babies and feeding. So that all happened. Now, so we've been living at the house ever since. We had our daughter. She was born, 6th of April, sorry. That was the last day of work. Day we got our keys for the place, went over, and we moved that weekend. And then 2 weeks later, our daughter was born, not at the house. I needed a lot of support. I'm a bit of a drama queen, and we birthed at the hospital. And then, yes, we there for the first 4 months, but it was just lovely, like just nestling in. Lovely, high anxiety. My OCD went crazy. I did not know you could have postnatal OCD. It's a thing. I actually didn't, this is revealing maybe a little bit of me. I didn't know that was a thing until Sheena from Vanderpump Rules said that she got it after having her baby. And I thought it's a thing. Anyway, I was actually diagnosed with it from my GP, and that will also be another pod, postnatal. There'll probably be multiple pods on postnatal. But yeah, that was a whole thing. The anxiety, the OCD just through the roof. But was coping, had a new baby. So things were new baby, new house. Things were great. Things were crazy, but it was good. Anyway, 4 months into living in the house, we got broken into and robbed. We were obviously not fully aware of our own security system that we needed to have in place. Simply lock the front gate. Don't leave a laundry window open when you've got the dryer on. Maybe turn the dryer off. Maybe don't even leave the dryer on at night. Like, just silly things that we did. Anyway, they got in. We were an easy target. They got in. They took my handbag. They took our car keys. Took Jake's wallet. Took my AirPods, which was the part that cracked the case. Bunch of stuff. Was really rattled. Yeah, that was an awful, awful time. Our daughter was 4 months old, and I fell pregnant with our son. Both of these kids, by the way, were surprises because, as I said earlier, I absolutely love surprises. So, of course, we wanted to keep their genders a surprise until the birth, which was a very thrilling experience. So, right in the middle of my postpartum period, I was pregnant again, which we were very happy about. Had a meeting with Dashdot, my check-in towards the end of mat leave, and I said, I am pretty sure I'm pregnant again. So how about we just put me on ice for a little while, and I will let you know when I'm back on deck. So thankfully, they were very flexible with me. Obviously, then went on through the pregnancy, confirmed the pregnancy, got to the 12 weeks again, and had our son via C-section, which was a different experience to my birth with our daughter. And again, birth stories are going to, but we won't be talking exactly about birth stories, but we'll be speaking maybe more to the methods, I suppose, rather than getting into birth stories. Reason being is anyone who's had a baby has a birth story. So I believe that those are experiences that are very personal and experiences that are to be shared if you wish. But I also really believe that birth stories can provide a huge disservice to a lot of women who haven't yet had a baby. I remember being one of those women. I remember just being pregnant for the first time, and for some reason, all of these birth stories would come to me. Granted, a lot of the time I would ask because I did actually have some genuine interest in wanting to know all the variables and being as informed as possible. But there was certainly some times where I'd had conversations that I just thought, wow, I did not need that conversation. And I've been speaking with a lot of first-time mums, first-time pregnant women in my circle and my network that finding that to be one of the most challenging parts of their pregnancy, they're already thinking about their looming birth and their, all of the variables that will happen for them. And then they've got, friends, family, even people they don't know, telling them about their birth stories. And I keep saying to them, soon enough, you will have your own birth story, and I almost guarantee people will stop telling you theirs. So anyway, that's a long-winded explanation of why we're probably not going to go into birth stories, but we're going to speak with some professionals in the field and speak about different methods and ask them some questions to help our mums, our mum listeners out there who are thinking about having babies, are pregnant, or thinking about having more babies. So that, I suppose, is a bit of an overview. I feel like we are acquainted, and that will be enough for for the purpose of this introduction and this episode, so that you have a little bit to know about me, so that you know where I'm coming from, where I've been, all of the wonderful mistakes I've made, and how not to make them yourself is what we'll cover in future pods. I'm going to be looping in, as I mentioned, professionals in my network so that we can ask the hard questions and have the correct answers, so that I can provide you with information that's going to help you emotionally, mentally, maybe physically even, and definitely financially. Before we close off, I will a quick update on where I'm at the moment. So I am, as I said, I'm fully beginner mode, but here we are together. I am recording this pod while I'm pregnant with our third baby. We are having a girl in the coming months. So my goal is to collect and post as much valuable content as possible via this podcast, so that we can take you under our wing and take you on a journey that's going to make you laugh. Hopefully it won't make you cry at all, maybe some happy tears, but it might be something that will distract you from your own pregnancy journey, or it might be something that motivates you on your own financial goals. We want to help you build wealth sooner. We want to help you achieve financial freedom. There's a number of ways that we as women can set ourselves up for success long term. And how does that all work when we are busy growing, birthing and raising babies? There's a lot to it. I'm still in the middle of it, and there's still a lot for me to learn. So I believe that this pod will probably facilitate some of my own learning. For now, I hope that you've enjoyed listening so far. There'll be plenty more to laugh at, and I'm very open to having a giggle along with you. And if you want to have a giggle at me, I won't be offended or take it personally, because that's what putting yourself out there is all about. Anyway, I look forward to our guests. I look forward to our listener feedback, and I look forward to taking you all under our wing.
Enjoyed the episode? Hit follow and check out _wingpod Oz on Instagram for a dose of wisdom getting you on the right path to success.